And we're going to kick us off here. So good evening, everyone. As attendees, you are in view and listen only mode. We hope you are becoming familiar with these virtual tools and recommend everyone be in the Zoom gallery view to see all of our candidates and our hosts. I will be assisting tonight's moderator behind the scenes, providing timekeeping as we proceed. Let me turn this over to your CRA host, President Fred Bologna.
Good evening. The Carmel Residents Association would like to welcome you to our semi-annual Carmel Candidates Forum. This evening, we will be speaking with our candidates for mayor and for the 2 upcoming seats for city council. CRA would like to thank these candidates for their investment in Carmel's future. Questions for the candidates relating to our citizens' concerns have been crafted by our citizens and the CRA Board of Directors. These questions have not been shared with the candidates before tonight's event. As an organization, the Carmel Residents Association does not endorse any individual political candidate, although CRA does and has supported specific legislation relevant to our village. Our moderator for tonight's Candidates Forum is former member of the United States House of Representatives and Carmel resident, Sam Farr. Mr. Farr served in the House for 24 years. I'll return at the closing to provide some additional announcements. And now over to you, Sam.
Well, thank you very much, Fred, and welcome all the candidates. Let's begin with how we're going to be managing our time this evening. Each candidate will provide a 2-minute self-introduction. Then we will move.
I made one mistake because I stopped.
Each candidate will have 1 minute for their responses. Finally, after we've completed our question rounds, each candidate will deliver a 1-minute statement. Our candidate interactions will be sequenced alphabetically, beginning with the next one in line for each of the following questions as we go. Let's begin with the candidate opening comments. You each have 2 minutes. And under this sequence, alphabetically, Karen, you are the first candidate to speak.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting this forum. In 1989, when I moved here with my young family, I made a commitment to give energy to my new Carmel-by-the-Sea community. 16 years of service on the Forest and Beach Commission, 30+ years on Friends of Carmel Forest. I'm president of Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve. 9 years on the Big Sur Land Trust Board, including 2 years as president, and more than 20 years on the Big Sur International Marathon Event Committee, including starting our successful Zero Waste program, have honed my leadership skills. I attend City Council, Forest and Beach, and Planning Commission meetings. I am not just a natural resource champion. I know the downtown employee parking and traffic circulations well, as I work part-time at Carmel Bay Company for the past 12 years. I want to see our downtown recover its charm, its village atmosphere, and put pedestrians ahead of cars. The village we know and love has been disrupted. Some wonder if it'll ever come back. I'm confident that with good leadership, it can be better and safer than ever. The pandemic exposed our near total dependency on tourism as the main driver of our economy, and adding other sources of income will need to be considered for our village so that we can not only survive, but that we will actually be able to thrive. In our eagerness to open, to return to financial stability, we need to ensure that our residents not only feel safe, but that they are safe, so that they too can enjoy coming back downtown to support the local business. Recent fires have alerted us to the immediate need to prepare for impending impacts of climate change. Our aging forest will need to be renewed, diversified, and made healthy again. The fire fuel abatement program by Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve is making progress. I'm the only candidate. Whoops, already?
Yeah, Mo, you're our next, you have 2 minutes.
Right, good evening, Carmelites. My name is Dr. Massoudi. I believe I have the strong credentials to be the next city council member is just not because I'm good looking, but because my family and I have been living in Carmel for 25 years now, and we know the village quite well. My wife and I are the former owners of Cafe Carmel on Ocean Avenue with the most beautiful windows ever that we had. I do run a very successful business in Monterey. It's an ag biotech company, and we provide services not only local, but also for international clients. So that is my business background. As far as the government, I have served as a commissioner and chair of the Forest and Beach Commission for this very beautiful city. Both as a resident and a former business owner, I perfectly understand both sides of the aisle. I believe our residents and our local owned businesses are vital to the functionality of our city and the livelihood of our economy. So COVID-19 has definitely affected our community. We will prevail, but it's time to be fiscally quite responsible. We want to make sure that we help our local businesses without losing the charm of our village. I consider myself as a self-propelled candidate in this race. I do not own any businesses in town. I'm not in business partnership with any local business owners. I have not received thousands of dollars of donations from local owned businesses or special interest groups. I do no favor for anyone. I don't have any friends or partners in town, so you can consider me as Mr. Clean. If you choose to vote me in, I will step in to be your unbiased voice in this council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Under the limit, that was terrific. Okay, our next 2-minute introduction is Dave Potter.
Thank you, Sam. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I want to thank the CRA for continuing their tradition of hosting these forums. Probably one of the best opportunities for the community to actually understand why we're running, what's our motivation, and why we believe that public participation is so important. When I ran for office the last time, I ran with a promise that I would try to work together with the community to go ahead and deal with issues that were pressing at that time that are still pressing. We need to make sure we don't spend the public's dollars frivolously, that we put them into projects that are most appropriate, that we go ahead and get the right kind of legal counsel involved that is professional, that has the credentials and the experience to go ahead and lead us through the legal morass of local government. I believe we made progress. I believe we've done that, though, together as a community, not me individually, but with the council that has actually worked incredibly well over the past 2 years to go ahead and come together in the most challenging of times. As we move forward now into this unprecedented era that this country has never seen before, I believe we need strong, experienced leadership that can bring us together to continue to work together to make this community what it is, preserve it as it is, but realize that we have to make some changes. What are those changes going to look like? We have no idea. But as a community, I believe we can define our future, and that is how we should work. It's been my pleasure to be your mayor. I'd like the opportunity to continue to work with the community for the next 2 years. Change happens, but consistency and change is hard to preserve. That's why I'm running again. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Certainly under 2 minutes. Thank you. Judy?
I am as short as I am in stature.
Judy, you're next.
Thank you. I want to thank the CRA for putting on this forum. I know how hard it is and how much work it is because I was on the CRA board and we did 2 forums during my tenure there. And so I really appreciate the effort that's gone into this. If you don't know me, my name is Judy Refuerzo and I'm running for mayor. Before moving to Carmel, I worked in Silicon Valley, managing operations in the Far East. And then 9/11 happened, the terrorist attacks. And I was like, why am I doing this job that I really don't love? And life is short and I need to do something that I'm passionate about. So that's when I decided to become a yoga teacher. And that's what I've been doing since 2004. But when we moved to Carmel, I'm passionate about Carmel. So I wanted to be involved. And like I said, I was already in the CRA board where I served as secretary for many years. I volunteer, and in 2013, I was appointed to the Community Activities Commission, which is the group in the city, the commission that oversees the city's special events and the farmers market. And I was actually on the ad hoc committee that founded the farmers market. Currently, I'm chair of that commission, and the most rewarding part is getting to work with everybody. I get to work with businesses and residents and outside groups, and to put on events that are beneficial to both the visitors and our residents. So that really makes me happy. The incumbent would lead you to believe that his 30 years of experience as a politician outweighs my passion. I don't believe that to be true. Our world has changed so drastically in the past 6 months. We've seen that none of the politicians have all the answers. I'm not a politician, but I'm a resident who will work tirelessly to preserve Carmel's heritage while moving forward and doing what is best to meet our economic needs while ensuring that we protect our natural resources and safety of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Bobby Richards.
Hello, well, thank you for having us. Thanks for this tonight, CRA. And I guess I asked myself 2 questions. Why am I running again? And why should I get some votes? Those are the 2 questions I came in here today thinking about my dialogue this morning. And why I came on, it's been an extreme, or why I want to do it again, it's been extremely rewarding. It's been challenging, it's been educational, but most of all, I think it's most of the friends that I have acquired throughout these past few years. If somebody were to say 20 years ago that Sue McLeod and Barbara Livingston and Ken White and Mike Brown would be on my frequently dialed list, I would have been surprised. But, you know, I feel like I'm part of a club. It's a group of people that I've become friends with that really understand the character. They respect this village. They want to keep this village safe, and they want to keep it residential friendly, and mostly residential. And I really have come to appreciate that. And I feel like they've let me into the club, and it's an honor. And especially when you're a breaker, that's a real honor, because those are old 4 Padres. So that's why I wanted to run again. Now, why I think I should earn votes, and that is because I've proven myself as to be a very empathetic listener. I've been fair and respectful on the dais. I've conducted my life in a fair and respectful way. And I think I've made good decisions that were sometimes hard decisions. I fought vehemently against the police station remodel that was a $2 million remodel. I fought vehemently against the short-term rentals, which we just closed the books on, and we're not going to allow any short-term rentals, which I'm very proud of. I fought for representation at the Monterey County Convention Visitor Bureau, which we had none until I came around and showed them what they were doing to our website. And so for all these reasons is why I think that, for one, I want to run, and for 2, why you should vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last candidate for City Council is Graeme. There you are.
I'm still here. Good evening. My name is Graeme Robertson, and I'm running for City Council for Carmel-by-the-Sea. Thank you to the CRA for hosting tonight's forum. It's very important that we all get together and talk about the issues. My family has lived in Carmel for over 55 years. During that time, I have developed a deep and intimate appreciation of what makes Carmel special. My top priorities are, and there's 4 of them. First of all, protecting the character of our village. Secondly, the overall safety of our community. Thirdly, the post-COVID reopening of our village. And lastly, financial management in light of the reduced revenues that we're experiencing today. In the first priority, one of the things that is paramount for all of us is Ordinance 96 that sits behind us in the dais at the City Council chambers. In order for us to continue to make Ordinance 96 a top priority, we need to ensure that our planning and building department is fully staffed. Marnie does a great job right now of managing the incredible flows of applications, both residentially and commercially. But during these post-COVID times, it's important that we have a fully staffed planning and building department. The overall safety of our community is paramount as well. With the wildfires that we're experiencing in Northern California, we need to continue to work with PG&E to make sure their equipment is safe. The last two priorities, the post-COVID reopening of Carmel-by-the-Sea, our commercial district has changed dramatically in the last 6 months. We need to listen to all the stakeholders to ensure that our post-COVID reopening is as successful as it can be. And financial management is critical both on the revenue side and on the expense side as well. Thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Well done, all of you. We're now moving into the questions, and the first question deals with the balance of village charm. How can we balance village charm, visitor appeal, and business health with the Carmel residential community? First, to answer this question, you have 1 minute, Mo.
Well, I believe that in terms of the village charm, this is the most unique piece of real estate in California. The trees, the houses, the ocean, the beaches, the golf courses, the birds, or whatever you have. And of course, what makes this town is the most beautiful people that live in this community. So I believe the way we can save the village charms by really allowing what we have done in the past. This town, this village was initiated by a bunch of artists. We should continue that tradition. What makes us different is the variety of the dwellings that we have, the variety of the streets that we have, the trees that are right in the middle of the streets. So these are the important values that we must keep. This is the village charm that we have to keep. When you go to San Francisco, it's all medians and lights. We don't see that here.
Thank you very much. Move to the next person. I'm sorry, but this 1 minute rule has to be adhered to. Dave, you're up.
So what I've suggested and what we've implemented is an ad hoc committee. It's a very, very good way to go ahead and get public input. It's a loosely formed organization that meets on an as-needed basis on specific topics. We formed a group specific to downtown dining. It consists of Tim Tomey from the Carmel Residents Association, restaurateurs, merchants, and we've actually gone ahead and walked the streets of Carmel together. We've gone ahead and had meetings together and discussed what it is that the citizens value, the residents value, and what the business sector needs to stay alive. Those are the kind of forums that I want to encourage, and those are the way I think we should participate as we plan for the future of Carmel. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy, 1 minute.
Yes, I think balancing, what was the question? Balancing, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole question. I'm sorry.
How can we balance village charm and with visitor appeal and business health?
Okay, balancing that, they're the same thing. I mean, what appeals to us and our village charm is what brings the visitors to Carmel. And business health, we have to just help. And I think they believe the same thing too. So we have to help our businesses survive. And right now that charm in the parklets, people like that. And I've heard tourists and residents alike. So I think there isn't really a conflict. I think we all work together and we all want the same thing because that charm of our village is what attracts the tourists.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Bobby, and the question goes back to balancing the business health and visitor appeal with the residential community.
Well, I think that you said it exactly backwards, the residential community. And that is that we need to keep our guidelines unambiguous. Our guidelines need to be strict, they need to be followed. And that has been what has made us so successful. It wasn't that we promote the tourism came to us because of our charm. And the charm lies in the guidelines. It's inherent in the guidelines. So I think that if we have good guidelines, and maybe they need to be revisited. The last time the general plan was looked at was 1984. However, I think that it's pretty solid. And right now we're in a little bit of a catch up right now with the COVID, and we're doing what we can. However, in the future, I think that we need unambiguous guidelines and we need to follow them. And that in and of itself will bring tourism and retail booming back. We'll also encourage people to live downtown, which if we have a vibrant downtown life, style, more people will come.
Graeme, you have 30 seconds.
No, 1 minute.
Excuse me, 1 minute. Excuse me, 1 minute. And you're on mute. There we go.
There we go. Thank you. In terms of balancing our village charm with the business health, I think we're already doing it. And I think the existing city council and leadership has done a great job of pulling the residents and the businesses together to have a dialogue that hopefully addresses everybody's needs. As Dave alluded to, there's an ad hoc committee that has been formed, and over and above that, the Carmel Chamber of Commerce is now, I believe, in consistent dialogue with members of the CRA that sit on different committees at the chamber level. So listening to the residents and all the while balancing the needs of business at the same table, I think is hugely important.
Thank you very much. Karen, you're the last on this first question.
Yes, I'm very interested in balancing the needs of both residents and our businesses. I think right now the lifeline that's been thrown out to our businesses is bringing people back. But I really believe we need a little more thorough planning process in order to incorporate the downtown dining program in a more village way. I don't think we want to forever have people dining in the street. I think there's probably a better way to do it that's a little more like a European village. I think we need to make people feel safe again on the streets downtown. The distancing is not as good as it should be, and a lot of residents are staying away. Until they feel safe, and they are safe, they won't come back in the same numbers that we need. We also need to look at the impacts on the people who live downtown, who now have more chaos on the street, more noise, and don't always feel safe with unmasked people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question relates to affordable housing. As you know, there are state mandates requiring low cost, more affordable housing and higher density with approaches such as accessory dwelling units. Carmel has adopted a general plan that includes an affordable housing element, a housing element. How do you propose to enforce this requirement? And the first question, first person on it is, who has 1 minute, is Dave Potter.
So we have been forced by the state to go ahead and address the affordable housing element. We have a density bonus program in the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea that allows you to go ahead and have additional units based on the acreage you have and the number of units. That's an incentive, not a mandate. The mandate from the state of California says that Carmel needs to provide 36 affordable units in the city of Carmel. Our affordable units are the units in downtown Monterey, the downtown Carmel, that are the apartments. Those are our units, and that's why the council said we should go ahead and make sure there are no short-term rental conversions. That's what we did initially. I think we have an opportunity to go ahead and provide affordable housing at the north parking lot at the Sunset Center, and perhaps also at Vista Lobos up there. But I will say that I do not support additional dwelling units in areas that are zoned single-family residential that compromise our zoning ordinance and our quality of life in the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea.
Thank you. Judy, your response.
Yes, you know, I've been out canvassing, going door to door, and what I've learned so much, and there are so many ADUs, or they look like ADUs on all these properties. I had no idea. I will walk onto a property and open it, and there'll be 4 units there that I can knock on all 4 of those doors, and they're building them. So I don't know how they're using them. I don't know how it's being controlled. I don't know what's going on. If we want to talk short-term rental downtown, I'm still upset that an X amount of units went into perpetuity to be used. That one really bothers me. So it's not like we solved the short-term rental problem downtown, because we're still doing it, and a group of people have it into perpetuity. So that really bothers me. But there are ADUs all over town, and they're building them, and some of them are quite cute. But I don't know how we're going to control that, but probably but the neighbors turning them in, but that's what I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby, your response?
Yeah, so I've said this on multiple occasions, and that is, I really think that we need to encourage business or landowners to have second-story office space into apartments. I would like to see more downtown life in those apartments or in those offices. Now, in the general plan, there was an indication that most of the residents, when they did talk about this in 1984, they wanted to see more like second kitchens in homes. So some of the larger homes in town with maybe 1 or 2 people living in them could split that house and put a second kitchen in there, which would allow for more people to live in the house. And also it could be a nice symbiotic relationship between the homeowner and the tenant. So I think that there's some solutions out there, but mostly I would like to see the office space in downtown turned into residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Graeme, your response?
Thank you. The reality is we already do have some affordable housing downtown, and the Carmel Foundation is a great model for us to reflect on. There's over 50 units that the Carmel Foundation has folks living in right now. I think we need to take a look at the second story in the commercial district, where we can convert potentially those that, like Bobby said, those office spaces to more affordable housing. And if we only have 36 units to provide in the city, as Judy said, there's probably a lot of locations around town that already have ADUs that we might not already know about. So reviewing through the planning and building department what we have and where we can go, and listening to what they say will hopefully help us address the issue.
Thank you very much. Karen, your response.
Yes, it's definitely a problem finding affordable housing and workforce housing opportunities in Carmel. With our land values and our small lots, it's very, very difficult. There are many subordinate units throughout town that are legal subordinate units that could be converted to ADUs. I think there's some advantages to becoming an ADU. And like Judy said, they are all over town. In fact, I have one on my property that has been an affordable rental since 2003. We also have opportunities on some vacant lots that Carmel owns, and parking spaces, and under Vista Lobos, perhaps even on the corner of the Scout House, where the Ballet Academy is now for sale. There are opportunities, as well as some of our hotels perhaps don't make it through this pandemic challenge, that could be converted to affordable housing. Thank you.
The last on the question of affordable housing is Mo. You're on mute, Mo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I strongly believe that for every lock, there must be a key, and for every problem, there must be a solution. Now, since we live in the most expensive part of the state, it is that elephant in the room. But what is the solution? At least I'll make some proposals. The city has a lot of valuable real estate assets. Look at the parking lot at the Sunset Center. Why can't we go ahead and turn that into a multi-level parking lot and potentially affordable housing on the top? Okay. Why can't we, for example, the Scouts House or the Flanders Mansion, whatever. What I'm trying to say is this. I agree with most of the candidates. There is a solution. Maybe we can allow tax incentives to the landlords to make conversions of the extra dwellings they have, so they can provide long-term affordable dwellings to people who needs them.
Thank you very much. All right, we go to our third question, and this question deals with outdoor dining. What are your views on Carmel's approach to outdoor dining and its next steps to making it through seasonal changes and possibly even long-term? And the first one on this sequence is Judy.
You know, when they first started the outdoor dining and the parklets, I was not a big fan. But as I've gone downtown and I've talked to residents, I was shocked. All the number of residents have told me how much they love it and how European it is. I worry about the restaurants as they move into the winter months. And here's what I worry about. So we've let them open, and we have given them some guidelines, but it takes a lot of money and they're struggling right now. So we need to make a commitment to them. We need to have good guidelines, but shucks, I think it has an awning. So they're starting to, but it costs them a lot of money. So we have to make a commitment. And if we expect them to pay a lot of money and make it look nice to meet our village requirements, but we have to help them survive. If they don't survive, we are not going to survive. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good, under a minute. Bobby Richards, you're the next.
Yeah, I think that nothing has changed the downtown look or has been as important to the downtown look as these outdoor dinings probably since the Coastal Commission came into act in the 70s. So what I'm hoping is that we can come up with some really good guidelines, because I don't know what it's going to look like. I know what it looks like now. I don't know what it's going to look like if it's a partial opening up or a complete opening up. What are we going to do with these parking stalls? And these people are putting a lot of money into it. It's funny, Judy just spoke about AW Shucks. I just spoke to Michelle yesterday, and I had a meeting with her and the patisserie Le Soir, Lydia, and we were talking about what's going to happen next. What are they going to do? Because the winter's coming. If a little bit of drizzle in the air, people won't want to eat outside, but we have to make them safe. We have to keep them in the character of Carmel. It's really, really important that we keep the character of this village in those parkways, but we also have to make it feasible.
Thank you very much. The next responder is Graeme.
The reality is that the parklets and outdoor dining has been a lifeline, not only to the restaurants, but to the retailers as well. It's brought people to town that are not only dining, but they're shopping around town as well. However, it has drastically affected the character of the downtown area. And as we come out of this post-COVID timeframe that we're in, we don't know if it's going to be another 90, 120, who knows how long it's going to be. We need to bring all the stakeholders to the table to come up with a solution that is palatable for everybody. The outdoor dining has affected the character of the commercial district, and that's something we need to look at very carefully, having all the stakeholders at the table to see what it looks like as we move forward, and listening to the residents, listening to the businesses and the visitors will enable us to get to a decision that is mutually beneficial for everyone.
Thank you, Graeme. Karen, you're the next responder.
Yes, I covered some of this in my remarks at the introduction, but I think we have a great opportunity. The pandemic has sort of created a catalyst for us to try this out. And we have found that people do seem to enjoy eating outdoors. However, we do have winter coming, as other people have mentioned, and I'm not sure also, even though many of the merchants have done a great job making theirs attractive, some are not so attractive and some are not so safe looking. I'm concerned with cars hitting some of these. There's no reflective tape on them. We can look to other cities that are doing this as well. I looked at New York City's requirements, and it's quite vigorous and gives a lot of ideas of how to make these more safe. I think for the long run, I'd like to see the restaurants be closer to their buildings so the servers didn't have to go in and out of the pedestrian walkway.
Thank you very much. Mo, what's your response on this?
Yes, this, like Graeme says, has been a lifeline to our business community, which I already said, they're vital to our local economy. What concerns me the most is the safety. A few 2x4s are not a good match for a 4-ton automobile. I'm really concerned about the safety of the diners. I am, because only it's going to take a small accident happen that we make it to the national news. That really concerns me the most. But so far, I personally like it. Businesses are making money. At least they can pay their rents and expenses. it seems like the majority of residents seems like they like it. So what are we going to do from here on? And that's really the important questions we have to address in this community.
Very much. Last on this question is Dave Potter.
So in the short term, I think we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about the public well-being for outside dining as we go into the colder months? Our existing program is due to expire at the end of the year. I think we probably should extend that, but we need to get some criteria in place. I would continue to utilize the ad hoc. Long term, I would suggest we have the planning department involved, planning commission involved. We actually referred this to them for long-term prioritization and planning purposes. I'd support sweeping the sidewalks out into the parking space and then having the dining against the building. So you're not going ahead and having interface with the pedestrian public, where you try to serve your clients in this parking spaces. I think that we can do that. I think it's a very popular model. You can see it in downtown Monterey and Montreal. And I think that that is the way that European dining is. It's better for the merchants. It's better for the customers. It's a lot safer.
Thank you very much. Let me move to our fourth question. This regards the city planning and commission functions. And the question is, regarding our most important city planning and commission functions, what would you do to help them achieve consistent design guidelines and enforcement in our residential neighborhoods? Bobby, you're the first.
Well, this department is unfortunately very understaffed right now. It's one of the most vital departments to holding on to the character of this village. And what's happening right now is we are spending the people that work in that department are spending a lot of time on the parklets, which I think has been beneficial as far as the parklets are looking so much nicer than when we first had started with them. But unfortunately, it's taken a lot of time. So I think that we're going to have to allocate something, some help in that department. I'm not sure where that's going to come from because of the budget cuts. I mean, we've had to lay off 12 people so far, and that's a very difficult thing to do. Yet we need them, and this is the perfect example of how are we going to increase our revenues, because we must do that to maintain the character of this village and the safety of this village.
Graeme Robertson, you're the next on responding to this question.
You know, as I said in my opening comments, one of my top priorities is protecting the character of our village, and part and parcel to that is ensuring that our planning department and building department is fully staffed. I clearly understand that there's revenue shortfalls, that we've had to lay off 12 people, and it's a difficult time. However, if Ordinance 96 and the character of our community is the utmost importance, then we need to staff that particular department. And we need to staff it as soon as possible. We need to have consistent guidelines that are executed throughout not only the residential community, but also the business community as well. Without that consistency and without the manpower to do it, it's going to be difficult to enforce. So the Planning Commission plays a critical role in all of it. And they should all, I think, be able to work together, but we're going to have to creatively figure out a way to make that happen.
Karen Ferlito, what's your response?
Well, I, for a long time, have felt that the most important thing, the most important department probably is the planning department. Everything emanates from our planning. And I think over the last many years, our planning commission has been hamstrung by having to respond to so many permits that they're almost more a permitting commission than a planning commission. Very little time has been able to be utilized for actual planning for our future. So I would like to maybe see us look at reviving the Architectural Review Committee again, to review permitting and house designs, and then having a planning commission that actually helps lead us into the future, helps us to review our rules and regulations and why we have them. We also, I think, are down to one code enforcement officer and one building inspector, and that's just not enough with the amount of development and redevelopment going on. Thank you.
Rich, thank you very much. Massoudi, you're the, how do you want to respond to this question?
Well, let me make a correction. Massoudi, that is. Mr. Farr. Anyways, I agree with the candidates. I believe we are extremely understaffed in the planning department. We should, hopefully after this COVID, we should go to a full staff. But going back to the 1929 general plan, sticking to our model that this is absolutely a residential community. We have to keep the character of the village. Lately, for the past few years, I've seen houses that actually belong in Silicon Valley. They do not belong in Carmel. It seems like we have left our values, the Comstock type houses or the Murphy type houses. That's why people come. I enjoy Carmel when I see variety of different houses from all kinds, the kinds that actually has charm and uniqueness to them. We don't want to be the Silicon Valley. So I think, like Karen said, we got to really realign our plan. Oh, okay, we got no time for me, sorry.
Thank you, no. Hey, Potter.
So I had a conversation with the city manager yesterday about where are we with the recruitment process for the new planning director. When Mark Weiner left, it was a significant loss to this community. He actually, like everybody else, it takes a while to acclimate yourself to a community. But Mark had actually gained the respect of the community and was able to work through difficult situations. That's a very, very challenging position to fill. But because of COVID, we put that international search on pause. We have some very qualified candidates come in and lead that department. We'd also lost our chief building inspector, our chief building manager. And for those reasons, there's no more important community department that interfaces with the public more than planning and building. I'd actually advocate for opening up City Hall as soon as possible. So when you want to get into the city to go ahead and get a project approved, you actually have somebody to meet with to talk about the process. The internet's great, but it's not personal. And I think if you can go ahead to the bank and make a deposit, you got to be able to go to City Hall and have some interaction with the staff at City Hall.
Thank you. And lastly on this question is Judy.
Yes, so I agree with Dave. I think City Hall should be open as soon as possible to make it easier for people and to actually talk about things, because online with something as important as planning, you want to do face-to-face and you really want to understand. Now, the guidelines that we set are the most important thing, because if you have clear guidelines, then it makes it easier on your planning department and it makes it easier on the planning commission. The planning commission is going to have to help, boost the planning department for what we're lacking right now. They're going to have to kind of be our backup here. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. But planning is very important. Guidelines are the most important, because I've talked to people and they meet the guidelines but they still don't get approved. And the other thing is, I like a variety of houses in Carmel. I don't want to let all of them cookie cutter. I have a John Thodos house that I'm very proud of. So I like variety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That completes the question on the City Planning Commission questions. The next question is a unique Carmel question on beach fires. Post-COVID-19 oversight, when we need to revisit our policy and the current pilot program is over, what is your position going to be on beach fires? And the first one on this is Graeme.
Just a bit of history, which I think is important, at least from my perspective. Having gone to Carmel High, Carmel River School, and also Carmel Middle School, beach fires were a really important part of my growing up. As time progressed, though, obviously the world changed, and my initial position on beach fires was that I wanted to keep them, and I was dead wrong. The work that has been done on the beach fires has significantly increased the quality of the sand, the experience that one gets on the beach. And I think the position where we are now with 12 to 5 fire pits, I think is a good compromise. And my hat's off to the folks that persevered and really protected the beautiful beach that we enjoy, and Sam, the beach that we see behind you. So I propose that we keep it at 5 to 12 pits, and that's it.
Karen, what is your response?
Well, I'm very proud of the fact that I was on the Forest and Beach Commission when we first started the beach fire management pilot program. And at first we thought we could tolerate 26 of the cauldrons. And we soon found that due to the waves coming in and tipping them over and people filling them with sand or dumping the coals out onto the beach anyway, it just wasn't adequately protecting our beach. Nor was it providing complete access to all of our residents who have health issues, who can't stand to be in smoke, young families whose children shouldn't be exposed to smoke. So I favor actually a propane only pilot program to try that, because I like our clean air, our clean sand, and I like access for everybody, not just people who want to have a wood fire. I think the breathing,
Thank you.
this is frustrating.
You're all doing very well. It's tough. Mo, what is your response?
I say having fire at our beaches has been a tradition for over 100 years in this village. This is very unique to our community. The same as dogs running without leashes at our beaches. So there is no doubt in my mind for the past few years, we have cleaned up the beach and we have pristine sands without the presence of any charcoals. That's given. And I'm not for banning the beach fire totally for good. That's my position on this. But this public beach is for everybody, for everyone to use it. Some people say that people from the surrounding areas come and use our beaches, but the beaches are for everyone. No one owns them, just the ones of Scenic Drive. I don't think so. So we cannot be very territorial. I believe right now we have a working system and it seems to be a happy medium for everyone, and we should continue doing this. This is not our priority right now. Our priority is COVID. So we can talk about this later on.
Right, all our beaches in California belong to the public. Dave, what's your response?
So to most, I would say there is no happy medium on this. The situation we have now is that we were on a pause. We had a program that was put in place by the Coastal Commission as a pilot project. It was a project that had 5 fire pits, smokeless fire pits south of 10th, and there was supposed to be unlimited propane. Anyway, that whole thing's been put on pause. One of the most publicly volatile meetings I've ever been in was the one we had to discuss the passions around fires on the beach. I personally think that the air quality and the purity of the beach is a priority, but I would suggest that we should finish this pilot project and then go ahead and have a discussion about it. I think everybody knows I'm a proponent of going ahead and trying to cut down the number of fires we have on the beach, if not eliminate them entirely. What I would ask is, I would ask that both sides of the issue be civil to each other, try to come to the table and have a mature discussion about this, instead of throwing stones at each other, casting aspersions and being rude and insulting to each other.
Judy?
Yes, I've been working on this fire issue since 2014, when Karen and my husband were both on the Forest and Beach together, and they came up with a nice compromise, which I thought was wonderful. And then the compromise, they keep taking more and more and more and more. What I'd like to see is, I'd like to see 6 to 12 pits, not those smokeless things, which truly are not smokeless. They are so small, they put out no heat at all. But the beautiful cauldrons that the city bought and paid for, which cost a lot of money, that have lids on them, so you can't throw trash in them. And I can't think of any better way that post-COVID to get together and be able to gather again, physically distancing, but being outside in the beautiful open air and meeting your neighbors again. This is what I want, and that's what I want. It's beach fires, limited, of course, in the beautiful cauldrons. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Bobby Richards.
Yeah. Well, this one, I've just been extremely consistent on this one since 2013, I guess. And that is, I would like to try a propane only alternative, to try it. We had a pilot program. It has been put on pause, as the mayor said. And so I would like to, when we can, start that back up and try to have this pilot continue this pilot program that allows for one season of propane only to let people see it, try it, feel it, and just maybe they'll adopt it. If they don't, well, then we can have the meeting after that and we can talk about it civilly and discuss it. But we've never given it a full try. And I've always been consistent with that. And so that's what I'd like to see happen.
Thank you. The next question has to do with making Carmel more bike friendly. Here's the question. What is possible to make Carmel more bike friendly, including connecting with TAMC, the Transportation Agency of Monterey County, a bike network? Investments like this can contribute to a decreased emissions, decrease in vehicle use, and being more pedestrian friendly downtown. The sequence on this starts with Karen.
Well, I'm a proponent of people riding their bikes. And when the bike shop first came to town and everybody thought there were going to be bicyclists splatted all over the highway and not being able to make it up the hill, there was quite a controversy that this just wasn't going to work in Carmel. Now we have people renting bikes and riding bikes all over. Bikes can be a great alternative for workers, so they don't have to take cars. And now with limited parking, if we could encourage bicycles being used to go back and forth to work or downtown, we would be able to, I think, have a more successful and less chaotic downtown. So I am a proponent of bicycles. I like bicycle lanes to make people feel a little safer and make cars aware that they have to look out for bicyclists. So yes, I think we should encourage bicycling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mo?
You know, I'm 1000% for bike riding. And the concern I have, number one, and first and foremost, would be the safety of the bikers, especially with the streets that we have, especially with the restaurants dining on the streets, that the roads are pretty much jammed and narrow. How are we going to secure the safety of these bikers? You know, it's a great alternative for being environmentally friendly. It's a great alternative to actually take your bike to work rather than taking an Uber or your own vehicle and have parking issues, because we already have parking issues. But like I said, that is something that the police department and our people that are in charge, they have to figure out and find out what is the best and safest alternative for these bikers to go around, because that's what we want. We want more environmentally friendly vehicles to get us from point A to point B. So I agree with Karen on that.
Thank you. Dave?
So there's been some discussion for ongoing time in the community of Carmel-by-the-Sea about bicycles and bicycle safety. When Mad Dogs and Englishmen came forward, the bike rental place that was actually not passed by the Planning Commission, but appealed to the City Council. The City Council said, let's give this a try and let's put some conditions on it. Let's have a report back every 6 months on the number of incidents, the number of accidents, the number of compromises to public safety. That program, that request has proved that bicycles can peacefully coexist in this community. I had an interesting couple of email connections yesterday from people that say, why don't we close Scenic on a regular basis for a few hours a day so people with their children can bike and walk down Scenic and not have it used as a passageway for vehicles that are driving along just gaping at the view. I actually think there's some reason behind that. I think it makes sense. I'm also concerned about safe passages to Carmel River School for those kids that want to bike and hike and walk to school with their parents. The 15 signs upside down. There you go. Thank you. But anyway, I think there's options out there. I'm very supportive of it, and I have in the past made policy decisions that have been supported, both as a member of the Transportation Agency, but as also City Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Judy, how do you feel about this?
I like bikes. My husband's a cyclist. My husband cycles hundreds of miles a week, and it's dangerous. Now, I'm all for having, put in bike paths, make it safer. My husband's been hit. So that's why probably I'm more scared than the rest of you, is because, I came out of a class one night and there was a note saying, I'm in the hospital, but go home and let the dogs out first before you come and get me. So I'm always a little bit worried about people driving around and tourists, and you know, they're looking at the beauty and they're not looking at the people on the bike. So that's my only concern. I support bikes, environmentally wonderful. And as long as we can make it safe and bike paths marked off would be great. And connecting different areas through our county would be awesome. Thank you.
Bobby.
Yeah, great, thank you. I think that is definitely something that we need to look at in the future, because with the advent of these e-bikes, there's more and more people on the bikes on the street, because Carmel was naturally, a lot of people didn't want to leisurely ride around here because of the hills. But with the e-bikes, we're getting more and more. Now, I did support the Mad Dogs and Englishmen. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and they're doing a booming business, and I'm very proud of them. They're my friends. So I support the bikes. I support us working with some of the other agencies, which there is some grant money out there from different agencies to help widen some of the larger streets. On some of the smaller streets, I don't see how we're going to get bike lanes up 8th Street. But we may be able to change the speed limit to make the bikes a little bit safer and go from 25 in most of the town to something like 20. And I think people would like to see some of that. But bikes are the future for sure. We need to prepare for them.
Okay, lastly on this, Graeme?
I'm totally in support of bikes. I can remember riding my bike to River School and Carmel Middle School when I was a kid. However, one of my second priority is safety. And as long as we can encourage people to be on their bikes in a safe way and in a safe manner, I think that's hugely important. And I think we can do that through bike lanes and bike paths, and ensuring that those are executed in a way that is consistent with the character of our village. I think also working with our other communities to connect Carmel to Pacific Grove to Monterey and out to Fort Ord with bike lanes and bike paths, I think would be a big bonus for everyone. And the bike shop in town is a great addition to the downtown area, and I'm totally in support of them as well.
All right, you got the Sam substitute. This is Nancy Toomey. So while Sam is taking a bio break here. Okay, so we have had a lot of questions with regard to the forest management and fire prevention, etc., from all of our members and the community, and especially given the devastating fires that have hit our region, this was really top of mind. But given the in-depth candidate views covered in Friday's Pinecone issue, which we all encourage everyone to read. If you haven't, grab that, please do. We've opted not to take that as an in-depth question. So hopefully, again, I believe that the answers and the responses in that Pinecone issue were very comprehensive and have addressed this in good stead. So we're going to do something in this next little segment a little different, called a lightning round. Again, because we've got so many questions that came in, what we want to do is to have people do a thumbs up or a thumbs down on a couple of 4 items here as we go through the list. So there's no verbal anything. It's just your gesture up or down. And this is going to be reflective of your general leanings. Again, there's information that could come and context that you're missing. We get it. But it's just to give the viewers a sense of kind of where you're headed with this type of a topic. So let's give it a whirl. So get ready for a thumbs up, thumbs down, no audio. So the first item is, do you support the eventual approval of a Cal-Am desal plant? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Good. Thanks, guys. Do you believe our short-term rentals in downtown have been resolved as a topic? Is it resolved or not yet? Got it. Thank you, guys. All right. And the The next item is, do you believe our short-term rentals in the residential areas are understood and enforced? Okay, there we go. There's a gesture. Excellent. All right. And the last one in this group, and then we'll move back to the standard question format, is do you believe there is adequate engagement with Carmel's second vacation homeowners?
I'm sorry, let's say that again one more time.
Do you believe there is adequate engagement with Carmel's second or vacation homeowners?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah. All right. All right, good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sam and he'll pick up the standard question format. So question please.
Thank you very much. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Wow.
It worked.
An interesting format. Our seventh question is deals with the ambulance services for Carmel. Over the years, Carmel has fought to retain its current ambulance services, delivering top-notch response rates. Budget constraints, however, are impacting this model. Do you support Carmel having its own ambulance services with funded equipment and staff? Why or why not? And the first in this sequence is Mo.
Ambulance services is one of the key that I've been pitching about in my campaign, public safety. And I do not understand, the fact is, when life matters, it becomes a question of the budget, okay? If my life is under jeopardy or somebody else's, or you, or anybody else, there should be no question about the ambulance services. And these people are our first line of life. They give life to us. And I do not understand why there's an issue about ambulance services, fire services, police services. These are fundamental to our lives. And I do not know why there is a question about cutting their services. I mean, that's elementary. There should be no questions. That's why we pay our taxes, my friends. Your taxes are there for our safety, and there should be no questions over that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Potter.
So I could not tell you how lucky we are to live in a community that has a 3-minute response time on ambulance service. The difference between an ambulance service and a paramedic showing up is you can transport. That's the difference. I think we should preserve that service, but to ever imply that this city has not gone ahead and done the best they can in the public safety arena is complete falsehood. You know, if you look at what the percentage of monies that are spent in the city, on the city of public safety, 32 positions out of 76 positions are public safety and ambulance. 42% of our budget is spent on public safety. This is a city that truly prioritizes public safety. I think we need to have a discussion about the ongoing funding of the ambulance, but to ever say we're going to take it out of here, I think would be irresponsible and unacceptable for me. I think we need to sit down with the purveyors of the service and go ahead and say, what can we do together to make sure we preserve this service? I do not think it's in jeopardy, but I think it's in balance. It's in need of discussion.
Judy.
This is one of the reasons I'm running for mayor. It's because I was so appalled about us not hiring someone from 2018. You need a paramedic and an EMT on the ambulance for it to run. If it's not running, then we have to wait for somebody to come from county. Our city has a 5-minute response time. As Dave said, we do much better. We do about 3, but the county has an 8-minute response time. I do not think that our citizens deserve to wait or 10 days a month and have to wait for somebody out of the county. That is a position that should have been filled. And we were told it wasn't filled because we didn't have a good job description. It should not take 30 months to get a good job description. It makes me mad. Our citizens deserve better than this. And then, like I said, this is one of the reasons I want to run. We need to fund. We need to hire someone right now. I don't care where the money comes from. If they want to hire somebody for planning, we need to hire somebody for the ambulance so that it can go. I'm very passionate about this one.
Bobby, how do you feel about ambulance services?
Yeah, well, sometimes relayed misinformation can be dangerous and destructive and dividing, and that's unfortunate. No one has ever, at least from as far as I know, we've never discussed cutting a budget from the fire or the ambulance. Now, I can tell you, we've cut $400,000 from admin. We've cut $500,000 from library. We've cut $1.2 million from the public works. We've cut $75,000 out of the city attorney. We haven't cut anything out of ambulance. So it's not a matter of cutting, it's about being efficient. And that's what we're looking for, is more efficiency. If there is a more, wouldn't the residents of Carmel want efficiency as part of the duties of administration, to have an efficient people working for us? That's all we're looking for, is what's the most efficient way to keep that 3 minutes. So there's no cuts of the ambulance.
Graeme, on ambulance services.
I fully support a fully staffed ambulance service. My second priority is overall safety of our community, and having the ambulance department fully staffed, I think is critically important. So we should fill that position just as soon as possible. However, as we move forward during these very lean economic times, I think there needs to be an ongoing discussion about how we can make things more efficient and more productive for everyone. And I would hope that we could bring all the stakeholders to the table to have those discussions, not only in the ambulance, but in the other departments, as well. So I fully support the ambulance and having a fully staffed ambulance service. They do a great job and have in all the 55 years that I've been in this town.
Karen, the last one on ambulance service.
Yes, I find it very disturbing, as Judy and others have said, that it has taken so long to hire the ambulance position. And I don't think that you can turn around and complain about overtime if you haven't hired a position to fill as a regular person. So, they have created the overtime issue, which seems to almost be a false flag to me. And I would hate to give up our ambulance service that we have had, because I don't think we could ever get back our independent ambulance service that we as Carmelites depend on. I do wonder sometimes when there's a trip and fall or whatever, that the fire department engine and the ambulance have to show up for it. It seems a little bit over the top. So I don't know whether that adds to the cost, but I don't think as a first-time candidate, I have all the background information that the incumbents might have. Thank you.
All right, that ends the questions on ambulance service, which, by the way, I've fought with a lot of when I was on the Board of Supervisors. It's an extremely expensive service, because you have to have lots of people covering the ambulance. So I know you're going to have a tough time dealing with because of cost. The next question is certainly current with the civil unrest going on in this country. And so I'm interested in your thoughts on policing in Carmel-by-the-Sea. And we're going to start this with the mayor, Dave Potter.
So we had a presentation by Paul Tomasi about a month ago about how our police department enforces, what practices they use, and are they in any way using the excessive practices that are used by forces in other cities. And it was very, very enlightening to understand that we are on the cutting edge of the appropriate interactions with the public when we're talking about public safety. When we had the Black Lives Matter group wanting to do an event here, we reached out to them and said, we're glad to have you come here, but what would you like us to do? Can we help you out in some way? Our merchants will be standing in their doorways applauding you as you come through town. We're sympathetic, we care. So that's the way it's more proactive than reactive. We've had very few instances of any racial unrest in this town, but I can tell you that our department is very, very professional in their behavior. We never, ever have any excessive practices that have been seen in other jurisdictions.
Thank you. Judy, your response on this?
Yes, our police do a great job of handling residents and visitors. They're very politically correct. They know how to work the situation. They're charming. I can't say enough good things about our police department. I'm very proud of them. What I would like to see is the police enforce what we as what the council wants them to enforce. So I would have liked to seen them enforce wearing masks in town much sooner. When the county said that everyone should wear masks back in April, we didn't start enforcing the wearing of masks until August. So that was way too long for my taste. But the police, the way they handle it and go about it, they do a great job. But I would like to see us ask them to enforce some other issues, but thank you.
Bobby, your response.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, we are truly blessed to have this police force that we do have. I think under Paul's guidance, Chief Tomasi's guidance, he really sets the tone and tenor for the rest of the crew. And they're very approachable. They are not ticket heavy, yet they want to do a good job. You can see them a lot. They're there to be seen. I've had some direction with Paul trying to get the crew more out of their cars and walking, almost more like, like a New York City beat cop or something. And they're doing that. They're going and visiting the restaurants and walking the downtown area. They're parking on Mission Street, walking to 7th, walking up the street, going to San Carlos and down San Carlos. So they're doing these types of things, which I'm really happy for. And I think that we have we're very lucky that we don't have these sorts of problems. And hopefully we'll stay that way. And I think with Chief Tomasi, we will.
Graeme, you're the next one on this question.
Paul Tomasi does an outstanding job as our police chief in Carmel. He sets the tone for the organization. The example that I'll use is during the Labor Day weekend when the beach was closed, one of our police officers, Kenny Shen, was on the beach in his vehicle, and people were still on the beach, on their beach chairs and having picnics and so on. Kenny got on the loudspeaker and said something to the effect, "Welcome to Carmel. We're glad you're here, but the beach is closed. So you with the ice chests and the coolers, it's probably time to leave. If not, I'm going to write you up." So that's a great approach, I think. Additionally, I'd love to see the policemen get out and ride their bikes through not only the commercial district, but the residential district. And I think that would go a long way to building even more solid relationships with the residents and the businesses. But Paul does a great job, as his entire staff does as well.
Thank you very much. Erin.
Yes, I'm completely supportive of our police department, particularly Chief Tomasi. He's a very caring and sensitive man and a very responsive man. He gets back to you if you call him and ask him a question about how something is being interpreted or enforced. Sometimes I would like to see a little more enforcement rather than just trying to bring people into compliance about certain things. I'm not happy about unmasked people downtown, and I'm really not happy with people who have destroyed the masking signs, thrown them away, damaged them. Every day in Mission Trail, they're missing and thrown in the bushes. I don't like to see vandalism. It's costly. And I don't know what we can do about it, but I do like the idea of our policemen being approachable. We're still waiting for a beach officer from several years ago, which we've never been able to hire. And I think it's a shame that our policemen can't live in Carmel.
Thank you. That's the end there was exactly concern about housing here. Mo, how's your response?
Sam, give me some of those juicy questions. We all agree on this. We have the best police department ever. Okay, there's no doubt. They're extremely approachable. They're like, when you talk to them, it seems like, they're absolutely non-threatening. I mean, they're so well trained, so well equipped. They keep us safe. 2 thumbs up to them. There's no doubt. And as far as I'm concerned, we have the best police departments ever. And when it comes to approaching people, they're always respectful and nice. What else do you want? Seriously. So It's one of those questions, I don't know, we all agree on. So all I can say is really, I support our police department 100%. I think they're well trained and well spent. Okay, every tax dollar on them. So I think they're doing a fantastic job. That's all I can say.
Frankly, it's great to see a council that's unified on supporting their law enforcement, because I think you get a much better law enforcement for that. So I didn't really need to have controversy on that one. The last question is really interesting. By the way, one thing, your responses are great, because what flashed up on the screen by one person here is, I like them all, why can't they all be elected? And so I think you're doing a good job. This one is interesting because it asks you to give relevant and specific examples. It's hard to do in 1 minute, on how you have or would work collaboratively with other city boards and commissions in your upcoming role. And on this last question, we start with Judy.
Okay, well, you know, I'm on a commission and I'm working with the council right now, but not as much as we used to. One of the past, because I was appointed in 2013 by Jason Burnett's council on the Community Activities Commission. And one of the things that some of the other councils did was they had a liaison that worked with each, you know, so one member of council who worked with each commission. So because we're kind of on our own right now. I don't see any really tie between the council working with the commission. So I would like to see something like that. But I think we'd all work together great. And maybe some tie-in between, you know, like forest and beach and the planning commission. So I think we could do a little better job than we're doing, but I think we'll all work together fine, because we're all really dedicated to the city, and that's what's an important thing.
So Bobby, the question was, how can you work collaboratively with the...
So, well, currently I'm on the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments. That's what I'm assigned to. And I think mostly where I have shown my ability is I was very critical of the Monterey County Convention Visitor Bureau when I first came on council. And I pointed out to them several parts of their website that I was upset with and how they marketed the city of Carmel. They came around and eventually they asked me to sit on the board. And so now I'm on the board of the Monterey County Convention Visitor Bureau. Then they asked me to join their finance committee. And then after that, they've asked me to join their post-COVID opening up Monterey County committee. And so I'm honored that, you know, why it started as a bit of a tumultuous relationship, because I was demanding that Carmel got its fair share of the marketing budget that they have. They allowed me to, they brought me in and saw my worth, valued it, and then put me on the finance and the task force.
So Graeme, on working collaboratively.
I think the way that we can continue to work collaboratively with the commissions and boards is, and Judy brought up a good point, that if there's a representative from the city council that is assigned to each one of those commissions and boards, they can be a liaison between the other city council members and the mayor and that particular board or commission. As we move out of these post-COVID times, getting all these folks together at some point might make some sense, so we all get on the same page and we hear what everyone else is doing. So it's more of like a long-term strategic plan that we might take a look at doing at some point in the future. It's a huge time commitment. Getting everyone's schedules together could be tough. But I think the idea of having a city council person assigned to each commissioner board is a good way to do it.
And Karen, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's absolutely critical for the Planning Commission and the Forest and Beach Commission to have probably quarterly meetings, because when I was on the commission many, many years ago, we literally saw every lot development, every remodel when there were trees involved. That got cut out a number of years ago. So tree protection falls mostly to the Planning Commission unless there are significant trees that are to be removed. So I think it's imperative that quarterly you meet and make sure you're on the same page, so that while they're doing architectural review and worrying about the color of windows and so on, they're also worrying about protecting trees. And I think regionally, we need to be very connected, particularly with special events. There needs to be a lot more interaction. I think meeting at least bi-yearly for the council and the other commissions is probably a great thing to do. Quarterly would be better, but I know the time element is critical. Thank you.
Karen, how do you feel?
That was me.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Getting late. Mo, how do you feel about this?
Would you repeat that question one more time?
It was about give relevant or specific past examples on how you would have or would work collaboratively with other city boards and commissions.
Well, our main purpose, the reason we put our name in the hat, really to serve the residents of this community. And then, of course, we are going to be able to really get in there and then basically work with different commissions that serve the council. Be able to really, one thing I've noticed is that the communication sometimes between the commissions is not working. Seems like there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the Planning Commission and there's a disconnect between, say, the Forest and Beach Commission. That's so important, and I think that's the responsibility of the council to make sure there's a communication between all these commissions, especially when it comes to the two most important commissions. One is, like I said, the Planning Commission and the Forest and Beach Commission. But after all, we serve the community, and we want to make sure that after all, that this community is served well.
Thank you all. That ends the questioning. And
We didn't get Dave on that one.
I don't think I got to say anything,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Listen-
Dave, you get the final word on questions and it's the issue of collaboration.
That didn't cut into my time, did it?
No.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I grew up in the planning and commission world. I was an architecture review committee member in the city of Monterey for 4 years. I was on the planning commission for 2 years, and then I ran for council. I believe that the best place you can learn about local government is at the commission level. If you want to get involved, join a commission and then understand how government works. Understand what the processes are and what the challenges are. I will say that I'm incredibly impressed that 25 members of this community came forward and wanted to be on our committees and commissions this past series. Bobby Richards and I sat down for 4 hours one day, 4 hours the next day, and interviewed 25 people. There were so many qualified people. We're actually going to make another run at it, make sure that we understood where people were coming from. I think that's indicative of a council that cares about the community, understands the values of the commission's input, and also realizes that when you care about your government, when you know you can be involved and your opinion matters, you want to get involved. That's what I think happened. People now want to get involved in Carmel government.
Okay, thank you. As I said, that ends the questioning period. And now we're going to move on to your closing comments. This again is 1 minute. And we're going to begin with our starting order. So in that sequence, alphabetically, Karen, you were the first one. Before you do this, it's in my mind, the bicycle thing keeps, I grew up in Carmel, and when the town was full of children, this town was all about kids, and all the businesses were run by parents. So everything, and guess what? Every kid in town had a bicycle, and it was a bicycle friendly town. And I sure hope we can get back to that. Anyway, that's my comment. Now we're going to move on to your closing comments. And Karen, it starts with you, and you have 1 minute.
Okay. Forums like this are a learning experience for all of us. And tonight we've discussed and talked about and ruminated about a lot of issues. We do have some serious challenges ahead, and I think we have opportunities as well. I want to return a minute to the fire fuel abatement program. We have initiated something in Mission Trail Park, funded mostly by private donations, to remove volatile fire fuel. It can be a template for the rest of the city if our leaders get together and ask for our fire department, our county fire department, which is CAL FIRE, and the various jurisdictions to come up with a plan now to immediately start to address this. We don't have time to wait. We really do need to get onto this. I have the energy and the interest in this area, and I would like to have your vote so that I can lead in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby Richards, your closing comment.
Sure, thank you. I would also like to give a shout out to the Bishop's Trail.
Excuse me, I'm out of order. I gotta go by order. Mo.
Okay, can you hear me?
1 minute.
Okay, thank you, CRA. I strongly believe I'm the right candidate for the city council because I have had a business in town for 12 years, so I know how to run a business. I understand what it takes to run a business in Carmel. I do have a very successful business in Monterey. I have served in your local government, so I know both sides of the aisle. What makes me different than my opponents? I am clean. I do not own any businesses in town. I do not receive thousands of dollars from my partners, friends, or whatever. What I bring in Carmel residents is going to be 100% genuine, unbiased opinion. This is how I see it. You can vote whoever you want, but I am the person I strongly believe I am. I'm putting my time, my efforts to serve you. There is no incentives for me at all. I'm gonna be serving you. So the point is, I feel like I'm one of those commercial guys, but the fact is, I'm just trying to serve this community with my busiest schedule. That's all I'm trying to do. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Well, you're all serving the community by being candidates. The next closing comment comes from Dave Potter.
So I made my statements early on while I was running, and I just make an observation at the closing here. I'm actually shocked that there hasn't been one question about our budget. I mean, the biggest threat we have as we face this pandemic is how is this city going to be able to provide its essential services as we go through very, very draconian budget periods. What I would suggest, and I asked this of the Residents Association and the community as a whole, and I spoke earlier about an ad hoc committee to go ahead and deal with issues, the successes of those that we've had in the past. I would like to ask that we form an ad hoc committee, I and one other council member, and members of the community, both the Residents Association, the business sector, and the commercial areas that we have talked about, and some of the resource agencies here, go ahead and talk about what are we going to do on a monthly basis to make sure that we can provide the essential services that this city needs and we pride ourselves on, and how can we do that together, just as we've done with other issues. I think the key to good leadership is collaboration. We've collaborated on these others. I'd like to see it do that on the budget. Thank you.
Next is Judy. Closing.
I believe in trying to live by the Gandhi quote, be the change that you want to see in the world. And that's why I'm running for mayor. If elected, I will be a full-time mayor with an open door policy. I will hold office hours at City Hall, and you'll be able to call, visit, or email me and not get an automated response. I believe in transparency and collaboration. And I'm hearing a lot about ad hoc committees and this, but I want collaboration for everyone, anyone who wants to participate, not just the people who have the connections. I don't believe any one person has all the answers, but with everyone working together, we can come up with new and innovative solutions to solve our current challenges. So please find out more about me on my website, judyforcarmelmayor.com. Check out my priorities. Vote for the change you want to see. Vote for Judy Refuerzo for mayor. Thank you.
Bobby Richards, your closing comment, 30 seconds.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I originally said, why am I running? Well, honestly, I like it. And I want to continue my experience. It's been a great experience under Mayor Potter. I've had great tutelage, and I feel like I'm learning at a vertical curve. Now, I have sat in on probably 6 or 7 panel interviews with different organizations around our community. And I'm happy and very proud to say that I've been endorsed by every single one that I have sat in on. And so I'm proud of that. I think for my passion for the city, my protection of the character of the city, I hope that you could give me your vote. Now, if you have any questions, you can go to bobbyrichardscarmel.com. You can see where there's been endorsements left about me from people that know me. Some have known me for a short period of time, some that have known me for a long period of time. And please leave a question. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
Well, Graeme, you have the last word, 30 seconds.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Sam, for your moderation and to the CRA for a wonderful discussion tonight. It's very important, very much appreciated. So on behalf of all the candidates and the participants, thank you. I humbly have the collaborative, consistent, and respectful leadership skills that are critical to serve our people on the city council. I'll end where I started with my top 4 priorities, which I think are critical in this world that we live in. 1 is protecting the character of Carmel-by-the-Sea. 2 is the overall safety of our community. 3 is the post-COVID reopening of Carmel-by-the-Sea. And lastly, and we haven't talked about it much tonight, is the financial management in light of reduced revenues. I've got the experience, I've got the collaborative skills and the balanced leadership through the boards and businesses that I've run over the years to be your next city council person. I'd appreciate your vote, and we appreciate your time this evening.
Well, Carmel Residents Association would like to thank Sam Farr for moderating tonight's forum. Thank you for stepping out of retirement to get involved in politics one more time. I believe that Mr. Farr has a message that he would like to share with our audience.
I have 2 points I want to make. First of all, I think the issue of your budget is, my experience is that after this year, the federal government has gone into debts greater than ever in the history of the United States. And so the politics on that debt will be cut, squeeze, and trim. And all of you use subventions that come from the federal government and state government. And I think that all governments are going to be in a really tight position of no growth, COLAs of being affected, layoffs. And so what it's going to require is a whole new sense of collaboration and maybe looking at more unification with other communities on mutual services, things like that. It's just my experience. But lastly, what I really want to say to all the viewers out there is that this election is without a doubt probably the most important in history. And Carmel has, I had great notes here, which I can't find now, has almost 3,000 registered voters, I believe. The last election, you had an 82 or 84% turnout, one of the highest in the state. I hope that what you viewers are all into, let's make California have Carmel, this city that everybody knows about around the world. Let's demonstrate our civic responsibility by having the greatest turnout in the history of this town. Wouldn't it be nice to be up in the 90 percentile, be an A turnout? No other community in the country will have that. And this is our responsibility. If we love this town, we live in this town, then we have to vote for this town. So get out there and vote and grab people and make others vote. And thank you all for being here. And thank you for the Carmel Residents Association for producing this forum.
Thank you, Sam. Our thanks go out to the candidates for mayor and city council for agreeing to sit in these little Zoom windows and answer questions from the comfort of their own homes. And a special thanks to Nancy Toomey for expertly producing this new way of presenting our event. You certainly made participating in this event less stressful for all of us. Now, for those of you who joined us late or who just can't seem to get enough of political speeches, a video link of tonight's session will be made available on the CRA's website page by midday tomorrow. As a reminder, we have more upcoming CRA online programs, including on October 21st, Stories of Flora Woods, the Cannery Row Madam. Now, this program might prove to be as exciting as tonight's. And on November 19th, Howard Berman will present his one-man show, An Evening with Charles Dickens. Remember, the last day to register to vote for one or more of tonight's candidates is October 19th. And this year's Carmel ballot drop box will be located on the corner of Ocean Avenue and Lincoln in front of our Harrison Library. If you enjoyed tonight's candidates forum, please consider, if you haven't already, becoming an official member of CRA and join at www.carmelresidents.org. Thanks again, everyone, and good night.